shooting star. The engines roar, the tires scream. Fast as lightning, it's the dream. Speed and drama, every turn on NFR. The rubber burns, feel the thrill of every bend, where the champions transcend. Feel the power at NFR. Burning tracks, driving far, where the races never end. NFR, only friend. Like Fernando calls the play on NFR every race day. Commentary sharp and loud, hyping up the roaring crowd. Feel the power at NFR. Burning tracks, driving far, where the races never end. NFR, only friend. Not Fernando calls the play on NFR at race day. Commentary sharp and loud, hyping up the roaring crowd. Feel the power at NFR. Burning tracks, driving far, where the races never end. NFR, only friend. Deaf Queen, the top supporter scene. In the crowd where speed is keen. NFR, the place to be. Join the race, watch and see.
Speed demons burning up at SKR, the league we love. Sunday at 6, engines flare up, adrenaline shove. Tight turns, the smell of gas, tires screeching loud. Thrill on the track, every driver make the crowd proud. Racers gunning for the top, no room for any slack. Pit stop strategies, teams got each other's backs. One wrong move, dreams could crash a season, turn to dust. Victory tastes sweeter when the stakes are a must. Rev up, SKR brings the drama. Highs and lows, no place for the comma. Checker flag wave, dreams come alive. Sunday at 6, see the legends thrive. Dashes, wheel-to-wheel clashes, cold sweat under helmets, pressure till it smashes. Race by race unfolding like a thriller on screen. F1 kings and queens chase that victory sheen. Rivalries ignite, sparking flames on asphalt. Pushing limits, no regret, not a single halt. Missteps and miracles, heartbeat sync with speed. SKR battles fused with passion and greed. Rev up, SKR brings the drama. Highs and lows, no place for the comma. Checker flag wave, dreams come alive. Sunday at 6, see the legends thrive. Rev up, SKR brings the drama. Highs and lows, no place for the comma. Checker flag wave, dreams come alive. Sunday at 6, see the legends thrive. Let me spin you a tale about a race car driver, George Russell by name. He's quick on the track, but don't get too excited, cause when it comes to greatness, well, he's not quite knighted. He's good, but not that great. Oh George, he's got the speed, but not the fake. Oh George, George. He looks like Woody from Toy Story, that's no lie. And when the race goes wrong, oh how that boy can cry. He's got the helmet, he's got the car, but when it comes to win, he's not quite up to par. He's got the look like Woody with a cowboy hat, but when he's in the pit, you'll see him shed a tear stack. Now don't get me wrong, he's got some skill, but when you're talking about the best, he's not in that middle. He'll race you hard, give you quite the fright, but in the end, he's more known for his tears at night. He's good, but not that great. Oh George, he's got the speed, but not the fate. Oh George, he looks like Woody from Toy Story, that's no lie. And when the race goes wrong, oh how that boy can cry. So here's to George, with his heart on his sleeve. In the world of Formula One, he's got a lot to achieve. He might not be the champ, but he sure is fun. So let's give a cheer for George, our Woody on the run. He's good, but not that great. Oh George, he's got the speed, but not the fate. Oh George, he looks like Woody from Toy Story, that's no lie. And when the race goes wrong, oh how that boy can cry. So here's to George, with his heart on his sleeve. In the world of Formula One, he's got a lot to achieve. He might not be the champ, but he sure is fun. So let's give a cheer for George, our Woody on the run.
In the quiet lanes of Silverstone town, folks are whispering about a boy falling down. And got a seat from his daddy, money's the king. Driving that Williams ain't like riding free. Tires spin, engines roar, but the podium's far. His wheels hit the gravel, now there's damage to the car. Got the world at his feet, yet he fumbles the lead. His dreams race away, but he's not in the speed. Daddy's money, daddy's ride, crashing dreams, nowhere to hide. Bought him a name that can't buy a skill. Lance keeps trying, but the track's all uphill. Now he's got his own team with a famous name. Aston Martin.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome back to NFR. Welcome back to Monday night. It's time for League v League, of course, Season 2 of this event. It's round 6. We're in Brazil. It's one of the few times that we know where we're going to be, so drivers would have been able to prepare for this round course, next time we know where we're going to be. That's going to be the finale, Abu Dhabi. The next 3 rounds, mystery rounds. Round 7, Fusion will make the decision. Round 8, 4QM8 will make the decision. And then round 9, a mystery round. Some drivers already getting out on circuit early on. As far as the team championship goes, the only championship you need to be worried about, there is no drivers championship. SKR leads the way, 217 points to LSA's 133. For QM8, they were a lot lower just a few rounds ago, up to 93 points. It's having a bit of a resurgence here in the League V League. You can see all the LSA cars there. Linus Stern coming out of the pits at the same time. That's a familiar livery if you watched Season 1 with us. Livery you would have come accustomed to seeing at the front. If they want to retain their League V League championship, well, they've got a little bit of work to do. Seems like one of the teams is that one of the teams is penalized? I believe that's one of the teams is penalized because we've got 4 retirements, and I'm going to presume that's one entire, I think that's one entire league. So 4 cars out of the running here in qualifying. They will start from the rear of the field, 13, 14, 15 and 16 in the order they retired from the session. So if you retired first, you're going to be starting in P13. You retired last, you're starting in P16. So once you have multiple retirements without a lap time, the game works it out on who stayed in the session longest. No times on your screen just yet. Remember, this is the League v League format. 4 drivers from 4 different South African based leagues. 4QM8, Fusion, LSA and SKR come together on a Monday night to fight it out. SKR and LSA, they were here for Season 1. Fusion and 4QM8, new additions to the League v League for Season 2. Who will be here for Season 3? No idea. Lap times now starting to come in. Wheeze is quickest, Matrix second, then Klaassen P4. And as I'm saying the names are changing. Gunner goes to the top of the field. Boatsy in P2. And LSA at this stage looking very strong. SKR do have a runner up front. It's 108.2. That is Wheeze. He tends to get quicker as the session progresses, but this isn't a drivers' championship, so the usual sandbagging doesn't tend to happen as much. This is Matrix returning to the pits, one of the 4QM8 cars. I said they didn't have a fantastic start to the League v League. They have been having a very strong resurgence of late. Of course, that points lead was cut down ever so slightly in the last round. SKR had a 98-point lead. That has now come down to an 84-point lead. So LSA still need a strong result here today. And not only that, they're going to need SKR to make a couple of mistakes, because with a lead like that, if you just have consistency till the end of the championship, that could be your championship. It'll take a lot of speed from LSA and some bad luck from SKR. Of course, remember, 4 drivers in a team, so that means usually you just got the 2 drivers in the team. You pick up first and second and the bonus point. You can go home with, I think it's a total of 44 points. course, you've got 2 extra cars that can score points. The objective is get all 4 cars in the points, and as many of them as high up as possible. So if you have one league having a terrible day, the other league gets 1, 2, 3, 4, well, you're going to have a very quick switch in that championship, and a lead that looked very comfortable will vanish. Lots of SKR spamming in the chat. We know who supports who on this channel. It's definitely an SKR channel. If you're not supporting SKR and you're watching, you can go there to the top of the chat. There's a poll. Let me know who you're supporting. If you're not supporting SKR at the moment, it looks like the chat is dominated by SKR, and even in the poll, 100% going the way of SKR. So nobody else is here, just the regulars. Wheeze has gone to the top of the timesheets with a 107.5. Best of the rest is Lamb Royale. Don't think he'll like to be called best of the rest. 107.9. Then another 107.9. That's Bigfoot. 108.0 for Gunner. 108.0 for Boaty. And this is what happens in the League v League. We see it so many times. It's quality versus quality. And what happens is very close lap times. Even quicker, 107.5. It's not quicker by much, just 3.5 hundredths of a second between the top two. And if you want pole position in this race, well, you're going to have to fight for it. The man who hasn't put a lap time in just yet, one of the SKR drivers. Driver we've spoken about on this channel, getting quicker and quicker. Lots of progress he's been making lately. What can he come up with as a first run? Of course, the famous Interlagos circuit needs no introduction. Been on the calendar since 1973, I believe it was. Of course, that first race was more of a dress rehearsal, if you want to call it that. Back in those days, if you wanted to get on the F1 calendar, you had to prove yourself to the FIA. And Brazil's first race was known as a non-championship event. So it didn't have full Grand Prix status, but it did get full Grand Prix status the very next year. Been the home of the Brazilian Grand Prix pretty much ever since. Of course, with the great successes of Ayrton Senna, you'd think he'd be very successful around this circuit. Not so much. This was his bad luck circuit. So many times he tried to win his home Grand Prix. Eventually he got it done. That was in 1991. Didn't come easy. Towards the end of the race, Senna started losing gears. And for the last couple of laps, he had to finish the race using only 6th gear. How you do that, I'm not quite sure. In fact, I'm sure you've all seen those images. It's when he's on the podium and he can't lift the trophy by himself. Well, that was the fatigue of driving around in 6th gear. Lamb Royale, the fastest man on track. Wheeze P2, Spikes P3. Then this is Gunner, one of the LSA cars. Something tells me about these timing sheets, we're going to have quite the race. You can see 4 cars there at the back. They have retired from the session, will play no further part. SKR is here. We know LSA is here. We know 4QM8 is here. So I'm going to presume that is the entire Fusion squad from 13 down to 16. One good thing they'll have on their side is that they'll be starting the line astern. They can work together as a team. 4 cars bullying their way through the field. Because if any league needs some points, needs some luck in this championship, it's Fusion. Just the 48 points so far. Their main battle is for P3 at the moment, and for QM8, well, they're in the middle of that resurgence. Looking like a much better second half of the season. We's still now in P2, Lam Royale out on track, going to defend that lap. Of course, 107.5, 107.5, those are the leaders, P1 and 2. Just 2.5 tenths of a second cover the 2.5 hundredths of a second rather cover the two drivers. Absolutely nothing in it. So while Weeze is out there looking for an extra tenth, looking for an extra thousandth even, Lam Royale's already out there just down the road looking to defend that lap. Let's see what Weeze can do as he goes over the line. He's starting a quick lap. See any change in the timing sheet, so I'm going to presume that was a preparation lap. One of the shorter circuits, I believe it is the shortest circuit on the calendar besides Monaco. And in some places, like right there, track can get quite narrow. One of the remaining classic race circuits was almost replaced. In the year, I think it would have been the year 2021. Luckily that did not happen. And it was really because the plans for that second racetrack kind of fell apart because of a certain thing that happened in 2020. And that allowed us to keep the Brazilian Grand Prix right here at Interlagos and away from a street track at Rio de Janeiro. Don't think anyone wanted that. This is Lam Royale. I think Weeze, that was a quick lap. He just didn't find any sort of improvement because he's come into the pits on the next lap. Lam Royale has gone over the line. It's still a 107.5. So I wonder if that P1 and 2 went out looking for improvements and simply couldn't find them. Means they're already on their limit. We tend to see the drivers coming out the gates in the beginning of qualifying, sandbagging, holding a little bit back, maybe putting an extra lap of fuel in the tank, just not showing their absolute everything, and they get faster through the session. But in the League v League it's different. Not playing mind games. It's all about the team and getting them as high up the order as possible. As things stand, it's LSA in P1. You're looking at Lam Royale, and he's just gone quicker, a 107.4. Said they were close to their edge. Well, that's how close they are. Went out, gave it absolutely everything, dug into those pockets as deep as he could, and all he could find was a couple of hundredths. Weeze, he would have seen that, and I'm sure he'll be out on track shortly. 3.5 minutes remaining. It is a short racetrack, so should be more than enough time for everybody that's in the pits still to have another go. This is Martin. I haven't spoken too much about Martin. Currently in P6, 108.0. Fantastic lap time. If you were anywhere else, it would be a great lap time. But when you're in the League v League, look at that gap. 6 tenths off. Say 6 tenths off, but that means there's 6 tenths between the top 6. Lam Royale, that's the quickest man so far. He's returning to the pits, and his biggest competitor is on his way to try and set another fast lap. This is Weeze, right on board with the SKR driver as he goes into turn 1. Such an interesting complex of first corners here, the center S's. And then just adding to them that downhill. so important. One of the more difficult turn ones. And Weeze has backed off this completely. One of the more difficult turn ones on lap 1. One where you really don't want to make a mistake. Can cause a terrible domino effect right down the order. And as we've seen on occasions before, safety cars can happen on lap 1 around this track. Also remember, we are in Brazil. Weather is always something to keep in the back of your mind. Many times we have seen rain here in Brazil, and when it does come down, well, it makes a challenging circuit even more challenging. 1.5 minutes remain on the clock. Lam Royale is on an outlap. Weeze is out on track. This is the SKR driver looking for an improvement. 107.5 his best. He's going to have to find a minimum of, what is that, a tenth of a second if he's going to jump in front of Lam Royale. But I can tell you Lam Royale is on an outlap of his own. He's not going to let things stand just like that. He's not going to let Weeze have the opportunity of starting from P1, the possibility of starting from P1. He hasn't beat that lap just yet. But if he does, Lam Royale's out on track to defend it. At this point, if he does have more in the car, the only question is, how? And how much? Weeze heads up the hill for the final time on this lap. Hopefully we don't see him peel off into the pits. And this is an improvement. Always so tricky to see if they're coming into the pits on this particular track. Weeze goes over the line. And no improvement from him. Or there was an improvement. We just didn't see it, but there was an improvement. He had a 107.5. He's into the 107.4s. Improvement in time, not in position. And now Lam Royale becomes the favorite here to hold on to this provisional pole. He's got a 107.4 of his own. He's 12 thousandths of a second faster than Weeze. Weeze will be so frustrated, so close. And I promise you that little 12 thousandths of a second, he'll know exactly where he left that. As quick as the lap looks, each driver knows exactly where they made mistakes, even if they were the smallest mistakes that we can't see on screen. The driver knows. And if it comes down to a gap like 7 thousandths of a second, those moments, they just run through your head one by one. Can't let it get to you. Can't get frustrated. Qualifying's all a bit of fun. Qualifying's all about setting the grid for the race. But we know that if turn 1 goes horribly wrong, qualifying can often mean absolutely nothing. So that is the end of your quali session. Lam Royale took pole position with a 107.4. Then Weeze 107.4 of his own. Just wasn't quick enough. In fact, that gap went up to, what is that, 4 hundredths of a second? Nothing in it. 5 hundredths of a second. There we go, between P1 and P2. That's DRS and SKR starting from the front row. Then we've got Big Bit in P3, Spikes in P4, Gunner in P5, we've got Clausen in P6, Skull P7, Martin P8, Boatsy P9, and Spinnacle makes up the top 10. The next 6 drivers, we've got Matrix in P11, Trompy P12, and then we've got the Fusion drivers who had a penalty, Levy, Taserface, Blade, and Venom. Nobody told me I had the wrong screen up the whole time. I had the SKR screen up. There we go. There's the League v League screen. Don't want to be biased on this channel. Of course, drivers do take a 5-minute break, or at least they're supposed to take a 5-minute break in the League v League. That's one of the small changes in the format that you're familiar with on this channel. So a slightly extended break between the qualifying and the race from what you're used to. Should be a 5-minute break. Of course, sometimes people forget, get a little too eager, hit the wrong button. That button happens to be an X, and everybody else has 30 seconds to jump in the car and get going. So if you're on a smoke break out of the rig and you see that timer, well, it's happened to me before. So don't press X, respect the 5-minute break, and I'll be back with you all in a minute or two from now. And we're back. Of course, we're still looking at an empty pit lane, like I said, slightly extended break for the drivers. Of course, very different championship, no individual championship, just the team championships. So the 4 drivers, this gives everybody an opportunity to talk with their teammates, decide, are we going to go for a split strategy, do something completely different, utilize different compounds and roll the dice, or is the plan to keep it simple? Everybody does the same thing. Everybody starts on hards, medium, softs, whatever the case may be, and hope they can follow each other through the field. That may be the case for the league at the back, that is Fusion. They're going to be starting from the final 4 spots. So we might see them doing something slightly different with their tires compared to everyone else. I said weather rather might be a factor. Well, looking at the skies above, everything seems pretty blue for now. Lots of support. SKR still being spammed in the chat. SKR, the only league supported in the poll. Well, this channel went from slightly biased to Sky F1. If you're not familiar, I don't like Sky F1. I can hardly listen to Sky F1. And I'm grateful every day for F1 TV. In fact, when F1 TV isn't working for whatever reason, I watch Formula One in Portuguese, just so I don't have to listen to Crofty and Kravitz. Don't know how you all feel about Crofty and Kravitz, suppose you're all big fans. Of course, the Interlagos circuit in Sao Paulo. It's been here for an awfully long time. In fact, this circuit, it's older than F1 itself. I told you the first Grand Prix was in 1973. Of course, first Formula One race was in Silverstone in 1950. But this track was here in the 1930s. Of course, had its first major incident. It was in 1937. I'd love to tell you the driver's name, but I don't know the driver's name. I tried. But basically, driver went off at turn 1, and at that time, your only safety was a bale of hay. He went through that into a grandstand, killing 4 spectators and injuring many, many more. Track was closed for a few years because the safety, even for in the 1930s, wasn't up to standards. We now finally get away for the formation lap. We'll get the dual green lights, and this will give everybody one opportunity to get around the circuit, do some preparations, prepare those tires, prepare those brakes, prepare your mind for turn 1. Visualize what you want to happen into turn 1, but be prepared for it to not go that way. Good to have all of you in the chat. Death Queen, Skull, Christian, Ubuntu. Visor is here as well. There we go. Visor is here as well. I think Dixie Killer is here as well. So welcome to all of yous. We had some tech failure, but luckily that was just before qualifying. We managed to get going. Got the whole of qualifying in. Now hopefully we'll get all of the race in, and we've had our glitch for the night. Hopefully. It's another interesting stat here about the Interlagos circuit. 70%. That's 70. 70% safety car chance. That isn't data taken from the last 15 years of Formula One racing at this circuit. Ooh, that's an LSA car going sideways. And luckily for him, it's the formation lap, which means he won't lose a wing, he won't get any damage, and he'll be able to continue into this race. Go Dixie Killer, confirmation Dixie Killer is here indeed. Another SKR supporter. And now we line up. Not the best camera angle, but hopefully we can see the red lights from here. They're going to come on one by one. When there's 5 of them, there'll be a pause. Then they'll go off, and we'll be underway. It's going to be Lamb Royale versus Wheeze, LSA versus SKR into turn 1. P1 and 2 in the championship, P1 and 2 in the race, and Wheeze, well, he's jumped his opponent immediately. What a start. SKR leads, LSA P2, then we've got 4QM8 in P3, then it's Spikes in P4, another SKR driver, another LSA driver in P5, that is Gunner, then another SKR driver. It's green and purple at the moment, all the way down the top 10. Of course, remember, Fusion is at the back of the field. They will be coming through the field. Look, there's already an LSA car. I think that is Spinnacorp at the back of the field. He's mixing it up with the Fusion guys. So some of the Fusion guys have already made up a position. There's Matrix 4QM8. Taserface in P12. Sorry, that was Blade. Taserface up the road in P11. Teammates very close together. Their objective is going to be to come through this field. And the last thing they can do is spend any more time they need to wheel with each other. Back at the front, Weiss leads the way from Lam Royale. Seems like Lam Royale, he must have made a mistake. I don't see any damage to that front wing. But either Weiss is on an absolute mission, or Lam Royale has lost some momentum on that first lap. Also could come down to tyres. Lam Royale went for the hard tyre, as did Boatsy, his LSA teammate, down the order. Everybody else in the field went for the medium compound. So nobody showing any faith in the soft tyre, nobody expecting an early safety car. Lap 2 of 36. Long way to go in this race. Weiss 1 minute 10.6, fastest lap of the race, and that gap 1.3 seconds. Lam Royale just starting to reel it in ever so slightly. I wonder if those hard tyres just starting to come up to temperature. Things starting to feel a little better. Of course, if Weiss does have the tyre advantage, this is the time to utilize it. He needs to be the quicker man in the first stint of the race if he's utilizing those medium tyres to their full extent. Gap is 1.6 seconds. If you watch Formula 1 and MotoGP, it is quite strange how the gaps look so different in MotoGP. In MotoGP, the gap of 0.6 of a second between the riders, well, it looks rather large. Anything over a second, well, looks like the race is done. But in Formula 1, anything under a second, these guys are right on top of each other. That also has to do with the extreme size of these cars. Of course, F1 cars, for the first time in history, heavier than their IndyCar counterparts. Bigger and heavier. In fact, they're even heavier than the fully electric Formula E car that is strapped with some very heavy batteries. Weiss leads the way at the front, 1.7 seconds, and it went from an SKR in the lead to an SKR in P1 and an SKR in P2. It's 1 and 2 for the team that leads the championship. Lam Royale flying the flag for LSA at the top of the field, and he knows how important a good result for LSA will be here tonight to keep them in contention for this championship. 84 points is the difference. And LSA needs something special. Lam Royale fights back. Takes that position right back from Spikes. Spikes is just going to line him up and do it all over again. In P4 we've got Big Butt. This is the top of the 4QM8 drivers. Doing a fantastic job so far for QM8. Last couple of rounds, some very strong rounds. As for tonight, probably a little further back than they'd like to be. They want to get up to P2 in this championship. They do need some magical results. Cars still close together. Of course, it's a short race circuit. There's DRS. Sometimes a short race circuit can work as a bit of an equalizer. we're looking at the midfield battle for P6. That is Gunner in P6, Klaas in P7. We're looking at Martin de Bruyne's right in the middle of all of that. Levy just behind with the best seat in the house, Boatsy P10, one of the LSA drivers. And now we're starting to see Fusion coming into this race. Remember, they started at the back of the field, and now Fusion knocking on the door of points, valuable points, much needed points for the Fusion Racing outfit. Out front, it's SKR leading the way from LSA. Spikes was in P2. He has since been passed by Lam Royale and now just doing his best to hold on. Of course, those mediums will go off before that hard compound. So when all of these drivers start slipping and sliding, the track will come to Lam Royale. And currently, it's advantage Lam Royale, if you ask me, because he's keeping the pace with these medium runners. But Spikes has cleared him, and now he's looking in his mirrors as he's coming under pressure from Big Boot. And just behind Big Boot, there's another SKR car. It's Skull in P5. Didn't have the best qualifying session, but he's doing it when it counts. He's doing it in the race. Look at these four. This looks fun, but it also looks stressful. Last thing you want to do is lose an end plate, lose a front wing, make an unnecessary pit stop, something that's going to mess with your strategy, put you out of sync. Got to play the long game. It's only lap 7 of 36. Remember, you're not necessarily racing the guy out front. If the guy out front happens to be your teammate, that's fantastic for him. You're not racing the driver out front. You just need to make sure your team, your league, gets as many cars in the top 10 as possible. Big Boot, first driver to pick up a 3-second time penalty this evening. We've just seen another car going off circuit there. That was an SKR driver. Lucky for him, he was able to keep it pointed in the right direction. Picked up a lot of grass. Was able to keep it in a straight line. Sometimes that can go awfully wrong awfully quickly. Weeze leads the way. 2 seconds is that gap. Lam Royale in second. Still hasn't been able to shake off the likes of Spikes. Spikes still within that DRS. We do have a caution, lap 8 of 36. We quickly look to the leaderboard. Is anyone falling down? Yes, it is. It's Gunner, and we have a safety car. We have a safety car on lap 8 of 36. I said, would anyone go for the soft in the hope of an early safety car? Well, this would be an ideal time for the safety car to come out if you had picked that strategy. No one picked that strategy. So I wonder what these drivers will do. Pretty predictably, all the medium runners coming into the pits one by one. And this now just puts Lam Royale in a slightly compromising position. There we go. I was indeed on mute. Thank you for that, Death Queen. If you if you notice something like that again, just let me know. I'm not sure. I wasn't muted on the computer, but I was muted on my headphones. So fun times. I was quite deep in a monologue there. So I guess you missed everything I just said. Lamb Royale leads the way. But remember, Lamb Royale, he was having a very strong race because the race was coming to him. He was able to stay with the leaders, but he had that hard tire, which means he was going to go deeper into the race than everybody else. He was able to stay with the medium runners at that stage. But then everything changed. The safety car came out. Lamb Royale wasn't able to pit. Those hard tires still have a lot of work to do. So he stayed out, held on to track position. All those medium runners came in one by one, put on a brand new set of hards. And now if it wasn't advantage Wheeze already, now it's definitely advantage Wheeze. He's in P3, with 2 cars ahead of him. Both need to make a pit stop, and he can see them in the same frame. Of course, there was already lots of action in the midfield. Safety car have just safety car would have just caused even more action in the midfield, and there's a fusion car off the field. Not what you want to see. That's Taserface off the track. That was the medium runner that was taking the mediums a little longer than anybody else. Chose not to pit under the safety car. Got himself all the way up into P2 at a stage. Now makes the mistake, lands up on the grass, and by the time he can get going again, he's down the order in P11, out of the points. Still with a pit stop to do. Lamb Royale leads the way from Wheeze. It was Wheeze in the lead of the race. Remember, Lamb Royale started from P1, but he wasn't able to hold on to that P1 for very long. It was absolutely swiped away from him in turn 1. Wheeze then went on to build a 2-second lead. The safety car came out. He decided it was time to get rid of the mediums. Lamb Royale had to stay out on track with the hards. And what it means now is those 2 cars have switched positions. But it's advantage Wheeze. This Lamb Royale needs to make a pit stop that's going to cost him around 20 seconds. And another, and another, and another. We've got a second safety car in this race. The first one came on lap 10 of 36. It's happened again. It's happened again. Safety car just 4 laps after the initial one. Things are getting messy. Matrix, he was the first retirement. Now Taserface chose not to pit under the first safety car, made up a lot of ground, got all the way up to P2, made a mistake there in the S's, we saw it. And just half a lap later, this race has come to an end. So that has activated the second safety car. The field is not too far apart, so I don't suspect we'll be under safety car for a very long time. But this can be so frustrating for the quicker drivers. I think for you in the comment section, I think for me in the comms box, I enjoy it. Keeps on mixing things up. It means the race isn't all about all-out pace. If the race is about all-out pace and that's all, well, we're going to see the same drivers at the top of the field week in, week out. I guarantee you that much. A race like this just keeps on mixing things up. And if your Lamb Royale mixes them up in all the wrong ways, Sometimes you benefit, sometimes you curse. Wheeze, he'll be smiling. Lamb Royale, he'll be cursing. Spoken about Wheeze and we've spoken about Lamb Royale, but what does this mean for the rest of the drivers? We've got Big Bit in P2, that's a 4QM8 driver, I believe. Then we've got Klaassen, another 4QM8 driver in P3, so double podium if the checkered flag were to fall right now. Lebby in P4, Skull, another SKR driver in P5. It's so important in a race like this when you're getting multiple safety cars. As soon as the field just starts to spread, safety car comes back, closes it up again. If you have penalties next to your name, well, this is an absolute disaster. Need a gap to the driver behind in order to neutralize the penalty. Safety car makes forming that gap near impossible. Still 100% in the poll for SKR. Who are you supporting tonight? That is the question. So if you are a supporter that is not a SKR supporter, remember to go to the poll and just put a vote in. Break the SKR party, currently on 100%. Channel looking very biased. Of course, last season in the League V League we also had SAFRL. That is another league on this channel, sister league to SKR, and that meant that the poll was always 50-50. Now with just the one league representing in League V League, well, here on NFR it's pretty biased. Still one car lingering around at the back, and I think that might mean we're going to get one more lap under the safety car. Yes, we do. We're going to get another lap under the safety car. I think that's Martin at the rear of the field, just circulating, trying to catch up to the rear of the queue. Brazil is usually a race you can get done pretty quickly. Every time we have a safety car like this, it does slow things down. It's going to take us a little deeper into the night. It asks that the drivers have to dig a little deeper. Lose your concentration, especially under these safety cars when you're just driving around, not at racing speed. Might get distracted by something. Look down at your phone, whatever the case may be, distractions. When you're racing, you're focused, you're watching the driver in front, you're watching the mirrors. If you're in a bubble and you're not in a battle at all, well, you're watching the apexes and you're watching the braking points. There's always something to think about. But when you're under safety car, that's when mistakes can creep in, especially if there's multiples of them. Boinkies has just entered the chat, and he's entered the chat at a fantastic time. You've entered the chat in time to see the second safety car. The first safety car was launched on lap 10 of 36. Second safety car just a few laps later, lap 14 of 36. I believe the safety car is coming in. 10-second penalty for a severe collision. And Trompy, I believe that's the man in P10. I think that was the driver who was involved in the collision, not the driver who picked up the penalty. We're now going to have our restart at the initial start of the race. We had Lamb Royale in P1 that got snatched into turn 1. Then Lamb Royale had the first safety car restart. But this time it's Weezer's turn to have a start at the front, and I don't think he's going to mess about. 0.5 of a second is the gap at the front, then Big Boot in P2, got Klaassen in P3, 2-4 QM8 cars high up in the field. How would they would love this result if things ended right now. 3-second penalty going the way of Levy. The penalty starting to get more and more on your screens. 5 drivers now in the penalties column. The most important of those penalties, just showing how quickly a race can go from brilliant to terrible. But Amrael led the race. First safety car came out, really messed up with his plans. Came in under the second safety car, but at that point the field was so close together, it means he came down the order, and now he's been involved in some sort of a collision with Trompy and picked up a 10-second penalty. So not only is he down in P6, he's got a crippling penalty next to his name. This is Big Boot, the man who's currently challenging Wheeze, both on hard tyres, both 10 laps old. Of course, what those safety cars will do is they'll also extend the tyre life. So you might just get an extra lap or two out of those tyres for every time you have a few laps behind the safety car. Wanky saying they can't colour in, referring to the drivers not being able to stay within the lines. Of course, one of the more narrow race circuits on the calendar, one of the classics. Hasn't changed much since I've started watching Formula 1. With the exception of a few runoff areas. We have a bit of tarmac where gravel once was. As far as the layout goes, this is pretty much the exact same layout. The likes of Ayrton Senna, Alain Prost, Nigel Mansell and Michael Schumacher have all graced this tarmac. Wheeze, Big Boot, side by side. And Big Boot takes the lead of the race. Looked like Wheeze went wide there. I'm not sure if that was an internet clip or if he did go wide. But Big Boot leads the race for the first time in the race. It's 4 QM8 ahead of SKR. Then we've got a second SKR driver in P3. That is Skull. He's followed by Levy in P4, and that's a Fusion driver. Is it a Fusion driver? I think it's a Fusion driver. That livery not matching up to the rest of them. Lam Royale in P5 on a recovery drive, and it would be a good recovery drive if he didn't have that penalty next to his name. He'll be hoping for another safety car. That means he can come in, change his tyres and serve that penalty. If that doesn't happen, he'll be looking to finish the race on these mediums. 10 seconds will be added on to his race time. Lam Royale, the fastest man out on circuit as things stand. He's just set the fastest lap of the race. He's on a set of mediums, is in P4. And things would be looking so exciting if he didn't have that penalty next to his name. Now lines up the next one. Lines up Skull. He's going to try to do it around the outside, but you know Skull's going to hold on for all it's worth. But LSA does have the inside. And Lam Royale, just that superior grip. Nothing much Skull could do at that stage. Skull 12 laps on the hard tyres. Lam Royale just 6 laps on a new set of mediums. And that means he didn't have too much trouble getting past the SKR driver. Speaking of SKR, this is the top SKR driver. And he looked like a sure winner in those first few laps. Now, he's behind a 4 QM8 driver on merit. Same set of tyres, same strategy I presume. He's going to have to get through on pace. Wanky's saying he hardly gets penalties. Of course, for quite some time, We knew him on the channel as the guy who didn't get penalties, and then when I started calling him that, well, he started picking up penalties. So, I think the less you speak about penalties, the better. Blade picks up a 3-second time penalty from race control. We're just talking about penalties and they're just popping up on our screens more and more and more. Anybody who was hoping to challenge Wies for this victory has now just made their jobs a lot more difficult. Cars 2, 3 and 4 all in the penalties column. Just not so long ago on this channel we had a race where everyone in the field picked up penalties with the exception of 4 drivers. We had a late safety car and it meant that those 4 drivers were your top 4. So important to stay out of that penalties column, especially in a close race. And every League v League is a close race. Look at this, 3 wide. SKR, LSA, 4QM8. There's not going to be space for all of them. First rule of physics. 2 objects cannot take up 1 space. And Wies comes out on top, at least for now. Lam Royale in P2 and he's on an absolute surge. Those mediums working for him. He's got all the grip in the world. And before those mediums fall off, he's going to have some fun with them. Problem for him is he's not only racing Wies up the road, he's also racing the penalty next to his name. He's saying he just needs to spend more time on the game. Hopefully we do see a return to pace in F125. Of course, every time a new game comes out, gives guys a little bit of extra motivation to get behind the wheel. Or if they're on a controller, spend some extra time out on track. Feels like slates get wiped clean. And everybody starts again. Lam Royale leads the way from Wies. The gap is 0.3 of a second, but the gap is more like 9.7 seconds ahead for Wies. Remember, 10-second penalty for Lam Royale. He'll be hoping for a safety car so he can serve it. Otherwise, it's just going to be added on to his race time. I think Wies will be aware of the penalties. I'm just not sure if he'll know the value of those penalties. He'll be happy to sit in P2 for the time being. Doesn't need to do anything harsh, doesn't need to break any wings. As things stand, it is a SKR in P1, Big Boot in P2. That's a 4QM8 on track. 3 leagues in the top 3, in fact 4 leagues in the top 4, because Blade for Fusion made his way up to P4. Boinky's saying maybe it's time to get a wheel. Does bring a little bit more immersion to the game. Makes you feel it a little bit more, rather than just holding a controller in the palms of your hands. Get to feel the bumps on the racetrack. Get to feel the wheel fighting back in the corner. Just gives you that little extra. Just don't be like my friend who spent 70,000 rand on a setup and didn't even finish the season he bought it for. Start with something small. And if you want more, upgrade later. Don't go big. It's not going to make you a race winner. Big Boot, the leader of the race. These 3, they've all led the race now at a time. It's Wies, Big Boot, Lam Royale, and now Wies back to the front. They're just trading places, and as long as he can't break DRS, they continue. They're just going to continue to trade places till the end of the race. Then it really comes down to a luck thing. It comes down to who's going to get the last bite of DRS. Lam Royale, He is in that battle, but he's not in that battle. It's such a strange situation. As much as he wants to fight, as much as he wants to be in these top three, get into P2, maybe take the victory. You know, he's got that penalty next to his name, so he's racing them, but he's not really. Bigfoot also has a penalty next to his name, let's not forget. Let's bring up the penalty screen for you all so you can see who's on what. 3-second penalties for Bigfoot. That's the lead car. Then Blade and Levy 3 seconds apiece. As for Claassen and Gunner, then 10 seconds apiece for Boatsy, LSA and Lam Royale. Also LSA. So we have a lot of drivers on penalties. They don't seem to be serious penalties. But of course a late safety car would change all of that. That's right. Boinky's just pointing out the name. Driver in P9, Spinnerkop. Wheeze, Bigfoot, side by side. How many times have we seen that in the last few laps? But while there's a battle on track, we know in the back of our minds that there's not a battle on the leaderboard. Wheeze in prime position to take this victory. Just needs to stay amongst these three. Don't let anyone run up the road. Now Lam Royale, surely 13 laps on those mediums, he's probably going to start to feel the effects. Those mediums could start to fall off and it could become a two-man race, but for the time being staying very close to Wheeze. Got a DRS train for the lead. That's P1, 2 and 3, but the timing sheets, well, the timing sheets are messed up that battle. Then a little further down the order, another DRS battle. Levy, there's a battle for P4. Levy in P4 Skull. First of the drivers in that queue. Blade, Claassen, all of them trying to get P4. This is Venom. Started right from the rear of the field in P16. He's been able to get his way up into P8, into the points. Some much needed points for the Fusion League. Driver we just spoke about, Spinnerkop, one of the LSA drivers. Also in the points, some more points for LSA. This is Gunner. But for the league that's chasing the championship, they probably feel like, yes, we've got 4 cars in the points, but they're a little too far down in the points. Ooh, that's a mess. We were flicking through the cameras. We didn't get to see what happened. We just saw the aftermath of what happened. We saw whether it was polystyrene, braking boards, or whether it was carbon fiber. I think there's your answer. It was carbon fiber. That Fusion car missing all of its front wing. Or as much of its front wing as licensing allows. In case you wanted to know why in old F1 games you could lose your entire front wing, your entire rear wing could in fact fall off the car. You don't see that in modern games, and that's because the sponsors don't let it happen. Late pit stops, late drama. And if you thought this race wasn't dramatic enough, well, it's time for one more. Time for one more roll of the dice. Wheeze will be the man in the lead, and he will be the only man up there at the front of the field without a penalty next to his name. It's advantage Wheeze. And what I mentioned earlier about the penalties has come true. you get a field with multiple penalties, multiple safety cars on a short race circuit like Brazil, the cars don't have the time to separate. And what it means is a penalty that could cost you one position in a race like this, it could lose you a handful of positions, and everybody that doesn't have a penalty next to their name, well, the race has just come to them. Spoke about how the race took a deep dive for Lam Royale, looked like one of the potential race winners. First safety car looked like it messed up all of those chances. Then the second safety car threw him all the way down the field. He had a collision with another car, picked up a 10-second penalty, and it really looked like his chances of winning this race were completely out the window. I can tell you that that has changed. Lam Royale went into the pits under the third safety car. That means he's got a fresh set of soft tires, and he was able to serve that 10-second penalty under safety car. So he's minimized the damage. He's in P5. He's got a brand new set of tires, and it's race on. While we're on the safety car, a quick reminder of the calendar. Of course, we're in Brazil tonight, next week. No idea where we're going. That is going to be the Fusion hosted event, and they'll be hoping for a strong round. Of course, Fusion, the only league knowing where we'll be going next week. After that, it's for QM8, their opportunity to pick a venue. Then we're going to have a mystery track that'll be a wheel spun on the Fusion YouTube channel to decide that venue. And then we'll finish off the season where all seasons finish off, Abu Dhabi. Weeze will be happy to drive around behind the safety car, because every lap behind the safety car is one less lap he needs to do, but its safety car will be in this lap. The whole field has come back together. You can see everybody there within a second of the next car. And we're going to have, what is it, a 5-lap sprint to the end. Just think about that for a second. All the practice. Because this was a track they knew they were coming to. This was set on the calendar from the beginning of the season. Guys would have been practicing Brazil, polishing up their skills, polishing up on 1-lap pace. We went through qualifying, we went through 30 laps of racing, and all of that is going to come down to a 5-lapper. Weeze leads the way from Big Butt in P2, Blade P3, Claassen P4. And the next car with no penalties, Lam Royale in P5. He needs to clear the 3 cars ahead of him, but it's easier said than done, because all 3 of those cars on fresh soft tires. Claassen P4, Lam Royale. Driver I said would want to get a move on. Well, it's not going to be that easy. Some quick drivers ahead of him, and they've got some brilliant tools at their disposal. Softs, 2-lap-old softs with just a few laps to go. You don't need to look after your softs at this stage. You can throw absolutely everything at them till the end of the race, and that's what everybody's going to be doing. Oh, that's an LSA driver going wide. That's Lam Royale off the circuit, and just when it was looking like the race could come back for him, there is Lam Royale at the rear of the field. Might just go ahead of his teammate. He does. It's P13 for Lam Royale, and that's how quickly things can go south. The emotions of racing. Whether you're really out there on the racetrack, whether you're out there on the virtual racetrack, that's the emotions of racing. One moment you're on the top. One moment everything is going well, and you've even visualized that finish. And just like that, corner you've been around 100 times before. An error, a mistake, a misjudgment, and after a safety car, Means you're right at the end, right at the back of the field. Weeze leads the way, and he's got the comfort of knowing that the next 5 cars all have penalties. Next driver without a penalty next to his name. Could be a driver looking at a good result here tonight. As a result is the SKR driver Martin. Ooh, look at that. Boatsy picks up a 10-second penalty for a severe collision with Lam Royale. Those are teammates. 2 LSA drivers driving into each other at the end of the race. We have a virtual safety car. Levy becomes a retirement. And on lap 34 of 36, this is about as late as you can get them. I don't think I've seen a virtual safety car later than this. So we had the 3 full safety cars. We don't have time for another. So just the virtual safety car race is neutralized, and that's a terrible, terrible thing for everybody who's got penalties. This would be the time. This would be the time to be trying to open up those gaps and neutralize some of those penalties, neutralize some of the harm that you have done. But now you just need to drive around slowly within a delta. Show patience. And wait for this to end. Of course, at least with a full safety car, you have an idea of when it's coming to an end. Every time you get into the 3rd sector, you just get yourself ready, just in case. Virtual safety car, well, it can end at any moment, and it just did. And a 20-second penalty. Where I was going with that monologue was, you really want to be on the right side of the delta, because it could end at any time and you're going to pick up a penalty. And that's exactly what happened. Weeze leads the way. Big Foot P2, Blade P3, then it's Clausen in P4, Venom P5, Martin P6. Remember, Martin's got no penalties next to his name. This could play into his hands because it's lap 35 of 36, and these cars have not been able to effectively spread out. Martin has dropped a little further back than he would like. If he wants to utilize those penalties, he needs to close in. He's got a 3-second gap to Venom, which means he may lose all that advantage. All those cars ahead of him have 3-second penalties, and he's 3.6 behind. So he's not going to make up any positions. Lap 35 of 36, and it's not something you see every day. Almost the entirety of the field following each other over the line with just 1 lap to go. This is the final lap. It's for QM8 from LSA. From Fusion. Not something I expected to say at the beginning of the race, but they have made their way all the way into a podium position. Then Clausen in P4. Strong race for 4QM8. Strong race for Fusion when you consider where they started. So easy to get demotivated in a race like that when you have to start at the very back. Sometimes you just go through the motions. Already thinking of next week. That's not what they did. They raced hard. Safety cars may have worked to their advantage, but whatever the case was, where there was an opportunity, they took it. Let's go to your leader as he goes over the line. Weeze wins it on the timing sheets, and he wouldn't have won it on track. He did win it in the timing sheets, but I think Bigfoot got just ahead at the end. He did. Bigfoot would have won that race by 14 thousandths of a second. Unfortunately for him, that 3-second penalty did come back to bite him. And Weeze wins this race purely by staying within the lines. Still waiting for a few at the back. This is a man who was in race contention not so long ago, Lam Royale, and I think that's what he thinks. I think that is a statement of what he thinks about Interlagos. Hopefully his teammate doesn't drive right into him, and he does. So LSA, well, From reigning champions to... what was that? Blade, your driver of the day. And there goes the sound. And just in time. So there are they? I don't know. I'm waiting for them to appear. There we go. Your final results. Reese takes victory. Started P2 in the grid, but took that position right into turn 1. And didn't really let it go for the rest of the race. Big Bitty could have won that race, but the penalty was the decider. Does get the bonus point, so he'll take home the extra point. Then we've got Blade in P3, Kloss in P4, Venom P5, Martin in P6, Trompy P7, Spikes P8, Spinnacorp P9, and Gunner, the last driver, to pick up a point. Then had Boatsy in P11, Lam Royale P12, those were your last two. And then DNFs for Lebby, Skull, Taserface, and Matrix. And that, folks, was League v League on a Monday night. Hope you guys all enjoyed it. It was quite the race, of course. 1 safety car, 2 safety cars, 3 safety cars, and a virtual ride at the end to shake things up if they weren't shaken up enough. I said during qualifying, 70% chance of safety cars on this circuit. Well, we got more than one. Weeze managed through all the madness to hold on to the lead and get the best result. And SKR will take another chunk of points home with them tonight and extend that lead in the championship. So congratulations to all the drivers. Fantastic driving from everyone. A little bit too many safety cars, but I think we can forgive them. As for the viewers, all of yous at home, I want to thank you all. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for putting up with the technical difficulties that we had just before qualifying. Luckily, we were able to get going. And we got to see all of qualifying and all of the race. And what a race it was. So, all of you, I know you're all SKR supporters. Well done to SKR. Thank you to all of you in the comments. You make these streams worth it. If it's your first visit to the channel, which I doubt it is, remember to subscribe. We're trying to get to 1,000. And if you haven't left a like on the video, remember to hit that like button. Make sure that our videos get seen on more timelines. So thank you to everybody. I'm going to leave you with a little bit of music. And I'll see you all tomorrow night for SAFRL Miami, 8 o'clock, Tuesday night. Till then, cheers.
Speed demons burning up at SKR, the league we love. Sunday at 6, engines flare up, adrenaline shove. Tight turns, the smell of gas, tires screeching loud. Thrill on the track, every driver make the crowd proud. Racers gunning for the top, no room for any slack. Pit stop strategies, teams got each other's backs. One wrong move, dreams could crash, a season turn to dust. Victory tastes sweeter when the stakes are a must. Rev up, SKR brings the drama. Highs and lows, no place for the comma. Checker flag wave, dreams come alive. Sunday at 6, see the legends thrive. Dashes, wheel-to-wheel clashes, cold sweat under helmets, pressure till it smashes. Race by race unfolding like a thriller on screen. F1 kings and queens chase that victory sheen. Rivalries ignite, sparking flames on asphalt, pushing limits, no regret, not a single halt. Missteps and miracles, heartbeat sequence speed. SK, our battles fused with passion and greed. Rev up, SKR brings the drama. Highs and lows, no place for the comma. Checker flag wave, dreams come alive. Sunday at 6, see the legends thrive. Rev up, SKR brings the drama. Highs and lows, no place for the comma. Checker flag wave, dreams come alive. Sunday at 6, see the legends thrive.
Come on, it's broken! It's broken!
Well, gather round, folks, let me spin you a tale about a race car driver, George Russell by name. He's quick on the track, but don't get too excited, cause when it comes to greatness, well, he's not quite knighted. He's good, but not that great. Oh George, he's got the speed, but not the fate. Oh George, he looks like Woody from Toy Story. That's no lie, and when the race goes wrong, oh how that boy can cry. He's got the helmet, he's got the car, but when it comes to win, he's not quite up to par. He's got the look like Woody with a cowboy hat, but when he's in the pit, you'll see him shed a tear stack. Now don't get me wrong, he's got some skill, but when you're talking about the best, he's not in that mill. He'll race you hard, give you quite the fright, but in the end, he's more known for his tears at night. He's good, but not that great. Oh George, he's got the speed, but not the fate. Oh George, he looks like Woody from Toy Story. That's no lie, and when the race goes wrong, oh how that boy can cry. So here's to George, with his heart on his sleeve. In the world of Formula One, he's got a lot to achieve. He might not be the champ, but he sure is fun. So let's give a cheer for George, our Woody on the run. He's good, but not that great. Oh George, he's got the speed, but not the fate. Oh George, he looks like Woody from Toy Story. That's no lie, and when the race goes wrong, oh how that boy can cry. So here's to George, with his heart on his sleeve. In the world of Formula One, he's got a lot to achieve. He might not be the champ, but he sure is fun. So let's give a cheer for George, our Woody on the run.
In the quiet lanes of Silverstone town, folks are whispering about a boy falling down. And got a seat from his daddy, money's the king. Driving that Williams ain't like riding free. Tires spin, engines roar, but the podium's far. His wheels hit the gravel, now there's damage to the car. Got the world at his feet, yet he fumbles the lead. His dreams race away, but he's not in the speed. Daddy's money, daddy's ride, crashing dreams, nowhere to hide. Bought him a name that can't buy a skill. Lance keeps trying, but the track's all uphill. Now he's got his own team with a famous name. Aston Martin's the brand, but it's still the same shame. Every corner, every turn, the crashes unfold. Dreams wrapped in carbon fiber, truth left untold. Paddock folks shake their heads with a sigh as the green car spins and the hopes run dry. No where toys can't shelter the rain. Daddy's money, daddy's right, crashing dreams nowhere to hide. Bought him a name but can't buy a skill. Lance keeps trying but the track's all uphill. Daddy's money, daddy's right, crashing dreams nowhere to hide. Bought him a name but can't buy a skill. Lance keeps trying